Listener warning. These episodes, Notes on Nonsense, contain explicit words. Sorry. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Notes on Nonsense. Today's topic is motivation is bullshit. I'm excited about this new episode series, although someone said you can't call it a series. Okay, series of episodes called Notes on Nonsense. My new book is coming out in December called The Year of No Nonsense, and I really wanted to introduce a lot of the concepts and get you guys fired up for this book because I do believe the topics and the formula and methodologies in this book are going to be life-changing for some of you. This is how I got out of my own way. This new book has my story about what I did and the way I really moved forward. And so I thought I can share a lot of this leading up to the release of the book and then perhaps after in these short little clips called Notes on Nonsense on this podcast. For a long time, I've had individuals ask me, why don't you do your own podcast where you just talk and tell about your 24 hours and what you do to make it great? And I've been really hesitant about doing that for a couple reasons. First, it's really easy to hide behind the microphone when you have someone else on the other end. Showing up to your own life and standing on your own and telling your story, shouting into the void is very difficult. So I didn't want to do it. But at the same time, I know I have a story to tell. I know I have hacks to share. I know I've overcome some serious darkness to come into some light and then to fall back flat on my face again and to get back up and do it all over again. And it almost feels like it's my responsibility at this point to share what I've learned. So let's get on with it. Motivation is bullshit. All right. How many of you cringe when you hear this? How many of you believe that motivation is something you have or you don't have? And you look at someone who has a job or a body that perhaps you would also like to have, and you think, if I only had their motivation. I'm here to tell you that motivation is not a thing that you have. Motivation is not something that you're born with. It's not something that you can catch. Motivation is not real. I just want to say that again. Motivation is not real. Motivation is not a thing that you have or don't have. Motivation is not something that you're born with. Are there people who appear to be externally motivated, internally motivated, and they seem to have come out of the womb that way? Of course. Of course, there are people that way. At the same time, when we are standing in front of a new challenge, and the little voice inside of our head says, I just don't have the motivation, I want you to, henceforth, going forward, to say motivation is bullshit. I don't need motivation. Okay, so what do you need? What do you need in place of motivation? And this is something I talked about on Instagram earlier this week, because it's one of my big pet peeves when people ask someone else, well, what do you do when you have a lack of motivation? And I don't mean to fault anyone for it. It's a really common question. And it's a question like when you see someone who has something that you want, it's an easy question to ask. Well, how do you have the motivation to do that? The concept of motivation is very similar in feel and in cousin relationship to the fabulous line of I don't have time. And this ties into the concept of the same 24 hours. We all have the same 24 hours. Yes, everyone's 24 hours also looks different. Some people have it a little bit easier. Some people have it a little bit harder. Privilege, circumstance, all of that is tied up in the 24-hour concept. At the same time, how you look at what your 24 hours is going to dictate what you do with it. And I don't mean like what you do every hour on the hour, how you survive each moment. I mean what you do with each day that builds to create your life. So where does motivation fit into all of this? I like to look at motivation in this regard. If I wake up one morning and I feel super motivated, I like to accept that into my life and say, hey, I got a lot of motivation today. That's really cool. But when I wake up and I don't feel like doing anything, when I don't feel like executing on the promises I've made to myself to eat well, to exercise, to tackle this project, to write these articles, when I don't feel like doing that, I do not blame that on a lack of motivation. In other words, I allow motivation to be in my vocabulary when it's there and when it's positive and when it's something I am doing, like something I'm really feeling. But I don't talk about the absence of motivation, if this makes sense at all. What I'm saying is when I wake up and I don't feel like doing the things I should do, that because I've said I need to do these things, not because of external pressures, but because of the things I say I need to do. When I wake up and I feel an absence of desire to do these things, I don't look at it and say, oh, I should have motivation. Oh, I did not wake up with motivation. I wake up and I say, I got to use my discipline today. I have to use my shit kickers today. I have to use everything I have within me to make this happen. Motivation is bullshit. So I allow motivation to be a buzzword or something that works for me, when indeed it is working for me. But when I wake up and there's an absence of this thing that sometimes works for me, I don't worry about it. I just pull in the next recruit. And that is always discipline. Now, discipline has a great cousin or brother or sister, whatever family tree you want to put it on, known as consistency. So discipline and consistency are what you mean when you say, I don't have motivation. So going forward, when you find yourself saying, well, I just don't have the motivation to meal prep. I don't have the motivation to go for a walk. I don't have the motivation to go back to school. I don't have the motivation to find someone to go have coffee with. I want instead, just as an experiment, for you to try plugging in the words, I don't have the discipline or the consistency to do X, Y, and Z. And that's harsh, right? I mean, here we are in this world right now, which is in the business of telling you not to beat yourself up. And I am also in that business, by the way, but I am also in the truth-telling business. And if you are selling yourself a line of bullshit, a line of nonsense, that says you don't have motivation, you didn't wake up with it today, and therefore, you can just be as mediocre as your, couch intends you to be. Like, if that's what you want, it's your life. I had a CrossFit coach who used to say, it's your fitness, do what you want. If you don't want to do that extra rep, don't do it. It's your fitness. And this is your life too. So you can do what you want. But I'm not going to sit here and say it's okay for you to give up on yourself. It's okay for you to be kind with yourself. It's okay for you to give yourself a break when it's tough, man. It's fine. But at some point in this culture we're in, this self-love, this self-care culture, somehow the idea of hustle, hard work, consistency, discipline, that is being lost. And also what is being plugged into it is acceptance for mediocrity, and not mediocrity by society's standards, mediocrity by our own standards. We're seeing people who are allowing themselves to get off the hook. And we go, well, they let themselves off the hook. I should be kinder to myself. And there's truth in that. You should be kinder to yourself. But that doesn't mean that you should let yourself off the hook from the things that you want. And I'm preaching louder for the people in the back, because I have dealt with this in such a real, tangible, I can taste it form. And it came through the sport of triathlon. It came from entering this sport, swim, bike, and run, which is based on speed. And I'm over here, not anymore, but then 220 pounds, can't run, barely can swim, okay on a bike because I'm sitting down. And I'm desperately thinking, I can do better than I'm doing, but I'm not doing it. Why? It doesn't matter what size I am. It doesn't matter what speed I go. It doesn't matter. All of these things are technically true. However, it bothered me. I didn't like it. And it wasn't because I was trying to please anyone in the outside world. I wasn't trying to make people proud of me with regard to triathlon, but maybe I was to a degree. But I wanted to do better, and I didn't know how. And then I have this swim bike mom world where I'm encouraging women of all shapes and sizes to come out and do a triathlon. And that is so important. And I will do that till kingdom come. These are two different arguments. When you need something to change your life and you need to get moving, you should go find that. And I found that in triathlon. That was phase one. When you are dark and dangerously sad and you don't know what to do, I think movement is the first thing. Go do it. Go do it in the body you have and make it work for you. But along the way, you may say, I need something different. I need to change, but I don't have the motivation. What do I do? And I want you to come back to this conversation. Whatever you want, whatever is tugging on your heart, and however you feel deep, deep, deep in your soul about yourself, that is the answer to figuring out how to heal whatever you need to heal. That is the path that is the way that is telling you what path you need to take. Because those deep, dark feelings, if you keep asking the questions of yourself, why do I feel this way? Where does this come from? Is this because of the way I was treated in childhood? Is this the way I was treated by my friends? Is this how I treat myself? Why? And that is at the heart of nonsense. When we are living lives full of nonsense, we are not asking ourselves the right questions, and we are sitting around waiting for motivation to come. This nonsense, non-real thing that doesn't exist. Everything we need is right inside of us to effectuate the change that we want. And it's okay to accept yourself. And it's okay to say, I reject this part of myself and I want to change it. I do not find anything wrong with saying, I want to change. Accept who you are. Accept yourself at the soul of who you are. And when I look at myself, who am I at the core? I am a mother. I am a writer. And I am someone who has lived through some bullshit. And I am here to help other people get through theirs. That is at the core of who I am. And on the path to being that person, to living that life, I have to deal with some stuff that makes me unhappy. Like the fact that I don't like how I feel in my jeans sometimes, and I need to eat better because I then perform better and feel better, and I can give more of myself when I am being honest and standing in my own truth. Motivation is bullshit. Don't spend a second of your life, not a moment longer, saying, I need motivation. You have motivation. It's inside of you, but it's not actually motivation. It's consistency and discipline. We have named it something else, like this thing that we can just be blessed with, but it is the thing you have to do. It's the thing you have to show up with each day and grab onto. And that is what matters. Motivation is bullshit. Bullshit. Grab on to your consistency and your discipline and go after what you want to change. Thanks for listening. See you next time.